If you're someone who suffers from burning acid reflux and GERD every single day and you can have a natural remedy to fix your problem, this video is for you. As someone who suffered with GERD and acid reflux for many years, I know just how miserable it can be when you have that burning acid reflux bothering you every single meal, every single day, and you've tried everything out there and nothing is working. But yes, I'm here to tell you that your problem can actually be fixed. But no, it's not going to be fixed with omeprazole. It's not going to be fixed by cutting out the foods that you like. And it won't even be fixed by acid reflux surgery, which doesn't always work. But it can be cured. And in this video, we're going to talk about why GERD and acid reflux is actually not caused by too much acid, but what's actually causing your problem. The top 3 causes of GERD that have nothing to do with what you're eating. And I'm going to show you how to fix them with some simple herbs you probably have heard of. And at the end, I'm going to give you some super simple tips that you can apply every single day to keep your system strong so you don't get these problems again in the future. Now, you've probably been told that your acid reflux is caused by an overproduction or too much acid. But the problem isn't too much acid, the problem is acid in the wrong place. It should be in your stomach and it's now in your esophagus, causing the burning. And that's because you have something interfering with what we call the les, or the lower esophageal sphincter. Now, I don't think that muscle is lax or broken or dysfunctional, which is probably what you've been led to believe. In fact, I don't think involuntary muscles get lazy. Imagine if your heart suddenly got lazy or your eyelids suddenly got lazy and stopped closing. You wouldn't say, oh, there's something wrong with that muscle, it's not working. You'd say something's interfering with that muscle doing its job. In fact, I only think that there are 2 possible times that you could have an excess production of acid. One of them is if you try to stop your PPI medication like omeprazole too quickly, and you get what's called RAHS, which is rebound acid hypersecretion, where your body goes into overdrive after it's been suppressed for so long. The other time you can have an excess of acid that's temporary is if you catch an H. pylori bacterial infection and your body tries to increase its acid production to kill it. And we're going to talk more about H. pylori in a second because it is a real serious problem for a lot of people with reflux. So if you don't have too much acid, you have acid in the wrong place. What's causing it to be in the wrong place? H. pylori or Helicobacter pylori is a contagious bacteria that can infect the walls of the stomach. It burrows itself into your stomach and releases an enzyme called urease. And urease acts like a bicarbonate and actually increases the pH levels of your stomach, which makes it less acidic. It also weakens the stomach lining, which is one of the reasons it can lead to a stomach ulcer. H. pylori has also been shown to interfere with the lower esophageal sphincter by creating pressure inside the stomach, pushing up into the esophagus, which is why I think H. pylori is one of the biggest causes of a hiatal hernia. Now, that combination of interference with the lower esophageal sphincter plus delayed emptying of the contents of the stomach is one of the reasons it can cause acid reflux and push that acid back up into the esophagus, causing the burning. The worst part about H. pylori is it's very difficult to detect. Breath testing, blood testing, stool testing doesn't seem to always pick it up. In fact, the best way to detect H. pylori is via endoscopy, but the science says you need to be off the PPI medication for at least 15 days, otherwise you have a 56% chance of getting a false negative. The problem is when you're on that PPI medication, if you stop it suddenly, you get that RAHS we spoke about before, which is that rebound acid hypersecretion, which makes it extremely painful, so most people can't have that time off before they have their endoscopy. Also, what people don't realize is that H. pylori can actually colonize the esophagus and the oral cavity. So even if it's not directly in your stomach, you could be swallowing it and it's interfering with the lower esophageal sphincter from a top-down approach. In cases like this, I recommend the supplement Pylopurge or the herbs inside it. Now, Pylopurge was something that I developed when I had H. pylori and I didn't want to take antibiotics. 1, because of the damage it causes to the bowel, and 2, it doesn't always work. And for me, the worst situation you could be in is if you have H. pylori, you try the antibiotics multiple times and it doesn't work. Now you still have H. pylori and you've damaged the microbiome. I always prefer to use herbs first where possible, instead of using drugs. The second thing that we know that can interfere with the lower esophageal sphincter, allowing acid to come back up into the esophagus, is a yeast called Candida. Now, there are many types of Candida. Candida albicans is probably the one that causes many issues for people. Candida is a commensal yeast, which means in small amounts, it's a beneficial part of your microbiome. But when left to overgrow because of large doses of antibiotics, poor food, high stress, ultra processed diets, then it causes problems. How do you know if you have Candida? Well, you normally find that yeast or fungus appears on the outside of the body. Fungal toenails, fungal fingernails, athlete's foot, dandruff. These are all signs of too much yeast on the inside of the body, and it's starting to appear on the outside of the body. Normally, it gets worse when you drink alcohol, you eat fermented beverages or fermented foods like bread and chocolate and coffee, or if you eat a large amount of sugar. And if you have all of those things and you eat those and they trigger your reflux, then you could probably say you're likely to have a Candida overgrowth. Now, if that sounds like you, what I normally do is recommend the herbs inside of a product called Yeast Purge, which was something I developed for my clients who were having Candida overgrowth that wasn't appearing in their endoscopy, but it was appearing all over the rest of their body, causing their acid reflux by interfering with their lower esophageal sphincter. Not only will Yeast Purge help you kill some of that excess yeast, it has products in there like vitamin C, reishi, and magnesium that will also help you to build your beneficial bacteria, which then controls the remaining yeast. And the final cause of acid reflux that I've seen in thousands of people is not having a gallbladder. Now, around 300,000 people every year in the US have their gallbladder removed. And because of that, you can get what's called bile acid reflux. Now, bile acid reflux happens when bile flows back up into the stomach because you don't have a gallbladder. Now, the gallbladder's job is to store bile, and when you don't have one, the bile leaks out from bile ducts from the liver and it can backflow into the stomach. Now, this interferes with the lower esophageal sphincter. It can cause acid reflux, it can cause hernia, and it can cause gastritis as well. In fact, some studies show that between 80 and 90% of people who've had their gallbladder removed can experience bile acid reflux. When I work directly with clients who've had their gallbladder removed, we make some dietary changes, such as changing when and how much fat they eat temporarily, because remember, your gallbladder produces or holds a substance called bile, and bile helps you digest fats. When you don't have one, you're going to struggle to digest fats. And then we add supplements like ox bile and lipase, and I'll link some of the ones I like below in the description, and we take those with fatty meals, and that helps stop the bile backflowing into the stomach. So those are the 3 top causes of GERD, and that's how we fix them. I also wanted to give you 3 tips how to keep your system strong so you don't run into these problems in the future. Number 1, keep your immune system strong. A weakened immune system allows you to catch H. pylori and set up shop inside your stomach. It will also allow the overgrowth of yeast like Candida. How do we keep our immune system strong? Good levels of vitamin D, sunshine, exercise, being outside in nature, vitamin C, reduced ultra processed foods, and hormetic activities such as cold exposure, sauna, and breath work. The more of these you do, the stronger your system is likely to be. Number 2, keep your acid levels sufficient. So for example, when you go for a really high stressful period, or you've been run down for a long period of time, your body can reduce its acid levels because it's more worried about running away from a lion than it is about digesting yesterday's dinner. One of the things I like my clients to do is take some HCl, which is hydrochloric acid tablets, just before your meals to keep your acid levels high to protect against things like H. pylori. But remember, don't do this if you think you have H. pylori, because you can make the problem worse and you could compound it, creating an ulcer. Finally, keep your stress levels low. Now, that's one of those things that really easy for me to say and really tricky to do. So what we ask our clients to do is measure their stress levels so that they can manage it. We use something called heart rate variability, or HRV, to show us how stressed your system is. These days, you can measure it on an Apple Watch or an Oura Ring. You want a high HRV relative to normal. So for example, the higher your HRV, the more stress you can deal with. And if you've noticed that over a period of weeks, it's starting to trend in the wrong direction, you can make some lifestyle changes so that it doesn't overtake your system. Hopefully you found this video helpful. Please like and subscribe, and comment below on anything else you'd like us to make videos about.